Welcome, everyone, to yet another edition of ESPN FC Live. After we're squeezing out the last bit of Premier League action before the international break, Alexis Nunes alongside Janusz, Michallik, and my boy LME. Let's talk some interesting results, guys. And this is at the big one of Super Sunday. Hasn't come up yet at the moment, which is Chelsea up against Arsenal, a bit of a London derby. But let's focus on Manchester United against Leicester City. A 3-0 win for the Red Devils in what was the interim Red Devils under Ruud van Nistelrooy, because we do know that Ruben Amorim is set to take charge of United starting tomorrow. On paper, Janusz, let me start off with you. This does look like a convincing win for United, but we all know that United have been anything but convincing this season so far against any opponent. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, there's been a massive change, in particular in attitude since Ruud van Nistelrooy took over, right? This is from the beginning sort of Manchester United saying this is our house. And when was the last time we could have said that? I mean, United will waffle away from home and home as well in just about all their games. So I think this is important. I think, the team came with energy, with a smile on their face. And again, credit to Ruud van Nistelrooy. And has gotten, as of late, a green light to attack. And I think that's the Manchester United that their fans and many fans have been missing for the most part. It's obviously a wrong road. We'll talk about it in a second because there's going to be a new boss in town on Monday. But I think this was very, very convincing with a team that still has many issues.
Elemi, what do you think? Because then I'm tempted to look at some of the stats. 3-0 for United. It is a win. Of course, one was an own goal. But they had 3 shots that were on target. You could see that, I suppose, up front, when you talk about Hojlund, he wasn't necessarily getting the service that you'd want. That has been the story for quite some time. They seem to just kind of get to the edge of the box and try take a shot as opposed to playing through the middle. But look, we're waiting to see what Ruben Amorim exactly wants to do with this team. But what do you take from this win and the fact that they have been unbeaten under Ruud van Nistelrooy in the interim?
Yeah, let's begin with that, right, Alexis? Let's give Ruud van Nistelrooy his flowers, right? That this ship needed to be steadied, and that's what's happened. Leagues Cup victory, a point against Chelsea and a win against Leicester City. Of course, it's Leicester City, with all due respect, conceded 21 goals already after this game. It's not exactly they're going to be contending for anything other than trying to stay in the Premier League. But the ship needed to be steadied, and that's exactly what happened. I like that Van Nistelrooy, by the way, started Amad Diallo. I like that. And he sat Alejandro Garnacho because Amad Diallo, this is a good game. It was a good game for him to prove to himself that he can be more than just a bench player. Time will tell, obviously, once Ruben Amorim comes in. But it was a good decision because he was great. He was lively. He was creating panic. And as you said, it was more of a simplistic approach of trying to go from the outside in and Hojlund, at the very least, try and protect that center forward line. Bruno Fernandes, of course, was very good. And I think Manuel Ugarte still needs to learn that not every single tackle has to be a foul. Calm down. I think he'll be able to try and adapt himself to that, especially as they play tougher opposition. And by the way, Leicester City, without Jamie Vardy, did offer just snippets of danger against United, specifically in that first half. So there's a lot of work to do. But the ship needed to be steadied. Something needed to happen after Erik ten Hag's departure. And you can't say that, obviously, that a manager exit bounce is part of that factor. But well done, Ruud van Nistelrooy. You got that ship steadied. You got some goals. To your point, 3-0. Every shot was on target. Alejandro Garnacho with a fantastic finish. And yeah, onwards. And the international break now is going to allow Ruben Amorim to enter a dressing room that feels a little bit more optimistic.
Janusz, you didn't seem 100% convinced there, of course, when we were talking about the steadying of the ship. But I know you're probably like in my boat as well. You need to see more, and I'm sure Ruben Amorim is thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the bar was so low, and it just goes to show something that we've seen already under Ten Hag, right? I mean, what Van Nistelrooy did when he came in, it wasn't just lip service, it wasn't just words of Erik ten Hag saying that we're going to be press high, we're going to attack. We haven't seen that. I mean, Manchester United, in particular at Old Trafford, how many games have we seen where they conceded possession, right? When they set back, when they were pragmatic and looking to counterattack, and that wasn't successful. Erik ten Hag was telling all of us that that's not what he asked his players, but the players obviously didn't buy into it, and for a long time now. So Ruud van Nistelrooy, and let's not forget, I mean, just the simple fact that he could walk into that dressing room and says, listen, I've been here, I've done it. This is not the way we play football at Manchester United. Let's attack. Whatever happens, even if they lost, I think, some of these games, but we would see the attitude, then we can say, the ship is steadied. And by the way, I'm not questioning that because the results speak for themselves. But, Ruben Amorim has got two decisions to make. Two big jobs, I would say. First and foremost, he's got to find a way for this team to attack properly as well. Yeah. Even though what we said, you look at Garnacho, what is it, 11 goals in the Premier League. Garnacho's got 3. Bruno Fernandes, by the way, by far their best players, if we like him or not, his attitude sometimes or not, which is born of frustration, of course, but by far their best players, no questions asked. Has got 2, and then everybody else. Look at Rashford 1, Hojlund 1, Zirkzee 1, Diallo 1. That's unacceptable. That's not going to get you anywhere. A bounce or not, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to get you. And the second one is what's going to happen with Ruud van Nistelrooy, because this is a key. And no matter where it goes, we can question that, right? Because hopefully he's not insecure enough to say, I've had this unbelievable person who's done so well. Players respect him and love him. Fans love him, as you can see. His attitude just alone, walking at Old Trafford in the beginning of the game, you could sense it, right? So do I keep him because I'm a big-time coach and I'm not insecure? And assuming that Ruud van Nistelrooy wants to stay, which I think he does, or he says, no, maybe he's a bit of a threat. Look, for me, Ruud van Nistelrooy, even if he goes, there's going to be, in a week's time, there's going to be 3 or 4 jobs open in the Premier League. Well, maybe not that many, but it could be. And maybe he goes on and learns because, there's always going to be a chance after what he's done so far. Ruud van Nistelrooy knows at least one thing, that there will be an offer for him sometime in the future to come back and be a manager of Manchester United.
Yes, indeed. I know that Bruno Fernandes was talking about Ruud van Nistelrooy in the post-game, saying that he just wanted the players to play with joy. And I think we have seen that in the last couple of games somewhat. But Elemi, let me go to you for this one, because at the beginning when I was nitpicking at United, as I will do, of course, as a supporter, but when I was talking about the Rasmus Hojlund situation, and Janusz and I have spoken about this too, and the questions if he is really fit to be the kingpin, the main kingpin, talking about 20 goals plus a season for Manchester United to get them back to the Manchester United of old. You look at him there, we talk whether either he is good enough or if the system around him is just not supplying him with those opportunities. Because when we're talking about United looking for those goals, they don't really seem to try to go to him. And is he going to be that striker that creates then his own goals? This is something that Amorim's going to have to try and figure out, right?
Yeah, you've been talking to Janusz about it. I've been writing about it for like a year and a half. Like I've been obviously complaining, equally echoing those issues. He is not the kingpin. He's not the main man right now. He's a great talent, but like if you're looking for somebody to give you 20 plus goals, there's a lot to be made. There's no denying his talent. But again, the biggest criticism of United from my side, like leaving aside Erik ten Hag, leaving aside the management, has been your recruitment. Like you had options to go into players like Victor Osimhen. Even, dare I say, you even ventured to try and target somebody like Ollie Watkins, but you said, no, I'm going to scout somebody else and I'm going to go in another direction. There's no denying the talent of Hojlund. But is he going to be your main guy? Well, that's up to Ruben Amorim to decide. But that, I think, in my opinion, needs to be the next step for United. They need to find a striker that can really echo and imitate everything else that's being produced going forward. I'm not taking anything away from Hojlund. I'm just saying that I think, and I've thought for a long time now, that you've needed a much, much bigger name type of striker.
But Alexis, yeah, you're right. But Alexis isn't wrong either. In terms of that supply, and that's good. We're going to find that out very, very quickly. You know, if you're talking about Hojlund's one thing, do you believe that he's sort of a striker that can consistently score 15, 20 plus goals? I'm not so sure. Even under
that was the
Amorim.
question.
But Amorim,
that was she. That's what she asked me. She asked me if I thought if Hojlund was a 20 plus goal striker, and I said no. That's it.
Yes, but the problem may be even bigger than this. I mean, if you look at what he's done with Viktor Gyökeres, I mean, look, Viktor Gyökeres, whatever you think of him, I want to see him tested as well. Everybody seems to want him, but he has been tested. Look at his last 4 or 5 seasons. A couple under Amorim, but before that at Coventry, right? I mean, not an easy league to play. He's been scoring for a long time. I'm not comparing them 1-to-1, but there are a lot of similarities, and maybe Amorim can get something out of him. The bigger question is,
but Gyökeres plays in the Portuguese league. We're talking about the Premier League. Like, the question that was asked to me was if Hojlund was a 20 plus goal striker. He's not. Manchester United need a much bigger name. Is Hojlund good enough to be in the squad? Yeah. Is he going to be the reliable striking source for Manchester United?
Yeah,
no,
but
I don't think so.
But is he being let down by the creativity?
Yeah,
is he being let down by?
The question she started with was, is he getting the service? And we're going to find that out, because in the 3-5-2, in the 3 system, you got to ask yourself a big question, not on both sides of the ball. If you look at the wide areas, is Amad Diallo, Garnacho is, I think, although, still it's a different system. Or is Marcus Rashford the sort of players that Pedro Gonçalves is, or Trincao? And if you play in that system, you will know one thing, that unless you can run 3 games straight, win the ball both ways, you're not going to be playing for Amorim. The secret in the system of that is what the players do. If you just watch Manchester City, but obviously we watch other games for Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League in particular, but you see what these players do, what they're asked to do. And that's going to be a big, just as big of issue as if it's Hojlund, or if it's Zirkzee, or, I don't know who else, in the future is going to play. So it's a much bigger issue. And I think that Hojlund, with better service and better work rate, the ability to press and win the ball higher up the pitch, may benefit from that. I don't know. Like you, I have my doubts, and I've said it as well. Both of us, I think, are on the same page with that. But there are bigger issues in terms of what's going to happen. I look at somebody like Mazraoui, even though I don't think he's a wing back or he's the wide player. He may be. He played well today. We've seen him already play at, I think the other day in Europe, I saw him play in the center of the midfield, or number 10 position, out of necessity there. But there are issues all over the pitch. So let's just slow down here, give Ruud his credit, give Manchester United their credit. At the end of the day, as it stands right now, this is still a very average team when you're talking about Premier League.
That's what I said at the very beginning. Let's give him his flowers, and let's he steady the ship. And the question was Hojlund the 20 plus goal striker at this moment? And I said no.
Well, with that said too, when we're talking about Amorim in terms of coming in and managing situations, again, LME today, when you look at the player ratings as well, Marcus Rashford not quite there yet in what was probably yet another big stage, or he could have taken this game as well by the horns, considering we know Leicester City's struggles, considering that United, despite all their woes, they still were favorites to win this one, and that's exactly what they did. How does Amorim manage that situation now? Yeah,
that's a great question, Alexis, because the Marcus Rashford situation, I'm really intrigued to see what Amorim does with him. And from everything that I know from Ruben Amorim, specifically from some research that I did for some videos for ESPN Deportes, he is a very popular man in that dressing room because he's a great at man management, and he brings out that confidence in you, specifically the offensive players. He comes from that school trade of Jose Mourinho, that he makes you believe in yourself. The tactics are not the same, but that's exactly the type of manager that he is. And I'm hoping that all of that is contagious on Marcus Rashford. I'm a big fan. He's a great man. He's a great human. He's a great player, but obviously we have not seen the very best of him, whether that's because of the tumultuous situations under Erik ten Hag, the inconsistencies in management on and off the pitch. I don't know. I just know that before Erik ten Hag left and Ruben Amorim was coming in, I was thinking to myself, he needs a new environment. He needs to just go to another club. But now with Ruben Amorim coming in, I'm hoping that he's going to be that person that gives him that, that impetus, that sort of sense of confidence. But we'll have to wait and see, because obviously he's incredibly talented. It's just that he needs that new vault. Hopefully that's the Portuguese manager coming in.
I always kind of worry about players that always need a special environment in order to be great. I worry about that. I don't know Marcus Rashford. I know he had that great season, but we're always talking about that, right? I don't know. I hope that there isn't a flaw in his character, because, if he's going to be one of the best, if we compare him to some of the great, best players in the game right now, there's more to that than just a manager kind of coming in and giving you hugs every time and telling you how great you are all the time. Some of that has got to come from within you, right? I mean, the best players have the ability to do that. They have the ability to adjust to different environments. Some need a special manager, and I get that, and he may still be there, but I'm sorry. I mean, I've given up on him a little bit. I hope for all Manchester United fans that I'm wrong on this one, but there is a flaw in his character somewhere. I'm afraid.